Hello, my name's Nick Hall. You're all very welcome to join us for this third in a series of 6 live events that we're conducting for the European Commission to help small businesses learn how to manage their tourism businesses online better for today's digital age in 2015. I'm going to be your host for the next 90 minutes, and we're going to cover the field of online reputation management. It's a very, very tricky field to work in. It's something which is actually affecting all tourism businesses, and it's become a hugely important matter for us all to get to grips with. So over the next 90 minutes, we're going to hear from a range of different experts and businesses, and we're also going to give you a complete overview of the main things that you need to be thinking about as a business when considering online reputation. First of all, we really encourage you to get involved in this event. You can tweet along using MyTourismBiz. We want to hear from you, and we will be reading your tweets out at the end of the program. So if you have questions, please do send us your questions and we'll try to answer them. And also, if you want to share your own experiences, do feel free to let us know what tools you're using, how you're getting on with those, what are the key challenges that you face as a business, and we'll certainly read those out and discuss those. So we really want to encourage you to get involved, interact, and also tweet our experts, as you'll see their Twitter handles come up during the next 90 minutes. So thanks very much for joining. First of all, before we get into the content of today's program, we also have a new feature. So you will see throughout the program this lovely icon which says Back to Chapters. And basically, this will allow, if you're watching after the event, so unfortunately, if you're watching the live event, of course, it's not possible. But if you're watching after the event, you can click on this at any time, and you will be able to navigate through the program. So if you want to hear specifically from just one actual business, you can just click on that and it will give you a menu which will help you to find the content you want within the program. So do go ahead and start using that. Now, of course, as we've been saying every week, our aim is to help tourism businesses succeed. And in today's program, we have online reputation as our top matter to look at. We're going to be giving you useful tips and best practices. So let's get started. Coming up in today's program, I will be introducing the topic, and we will be hearing how our mentoree, Laura Bujalance, has been getting along with some of the tips we've been giving her. And after that, I'm going to give you a clear understanding of the principles of online reputation and what you need to consider. We also have an interview with Patrick Robinson from Airbnb. Of course, you all know Airbnb, and they've been hugely disruptive in the travel space. So we've been finding out a bit more about their strategy and why it is that they've been so successful and how important reputation has been in building their business. And then we'll be hearing from Ramona Wagner, who is going to give us a complete overview of all of the different opportunities and tools that exist when it comes to managing and working with online reputation. Now, I should say at this point, she won't be able to go into concrete detail about the specific products because we are taking a non-commercial approach to this. But she'll certainly give you an overview of the landscape and the different products and tools types which should appeal to you as a business. Then we're going to have a live discussion and talk about some of the issues that we have seen and that we've heard over our experience and also over the last couple of weeks, where some of you have been sending your comments and thoughts about what you would like to see in this program. And to end today's program, we'll be catching up with travel blogger Frankie Thompson, who is a very well-respected travel blogger and also content author. And she will be talking to us about the importance of reputation when it comes to ambassadors and influence. So, without any further ado, let's catch up with Laura Bujalance, who we've been following throughout this series. Just to recap, she is a small tourism business who is starting out with a new idea to provide yoga retreats to visitors to Spain. And we have been following her progress, and she's been taking on board some of the tips and advice from our experts throughout this process. So let's go straight to that and see what she had to say. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us for today's program here in the studio, so we caught up with her earlier via video call. I'm very pleased to say hello again to Laura Bujalance, who's the founder of Surya Retreats. We have been following Laura through this series, and she has been with us live for the last 2 programs to see how you're developing your business. Now, you're a brand new business, and we've been watching and helping you with the growth of your business. And it's been a tough journey, I know, so far. But just give us an update, Laura, in terms of what you've managed to take on board from the last program about marketing your business.
Mhm. Well, thank you for having me again. But I guess I will. I hope I won't say the same thing over the whole program. But I feel like I've gotten back to square one. I got a lot more feedback in terms of the legal aspects of the building of a business, and so I'm looking for more answers for different options on how to do that. So, and it's incredible how much time you spend doing this kind of research when you don't know, where to go or who to ask. So I feel like I've been doing a lot of that lately. But I've also spent some time on, doing some um, online marketing, especially in terms of social networks. I opened my Facebook page and I started experiencing a bit with Facebook ad campaigns, see how that goes. And also looking into SEO and also, Google AdWords as well, in terms of, selling several of my retreats. And also I opened my blog. So there.
Well, that's yeah, quite an achievement actually for a couple of weeks to have experimented with running different ad campaigns and also started producing content. I think that's a huge step forward. I can sense you're a bit, I guess, down from the huge kind of learning curve that you have to take, whether it's even the most basic things in terms of setting up the company in the right way. But do you feel that sort of slowly but surely you're moving in the right direction there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm confident.
it's one of the pains from starting a business is getting it right first of all before anything else and making
That's what,
sure you have the right foundation.
yeah.
So tell me a bit about these campaigns that you've been running. I'm quite keen to understand how you managed to tackle that in terms of the knowledge that you were able to apply. Did you just go ahead with it and figure it out, or did you follow some kind of guides and templates? What was the approach that you took to setting up these two ad campaigns on Google and Facebook?
Well, I actually took Paul's advice from our first webinar in terms of for the Facebook campaigns and pretty much setting up the page and everything. He did give me a couple of tips and how to do it here and there. And then I'm also working on the SEO and Google AdWords with my SEO or website manager. And I again, it's really helpful when somebody who knows what they're doing they can help you because then you learn. It's amazing how much I'm learning about all this.
So, in terms of online reputation, obviously you're a new business, so you're perhaps more in the stage of actually building and forming a reputation rather than trying to improve the reputation that you already have. Tell me a little bit about what you've already done so far to date, maybe starting out with really the basics.
Yeah, what I've done so far was to send out surveys right after every trip. So yeah, those were anonymous, and I got all those surveys back on basically quality levels of the different aspects of the retreat, but also open comments and suggestions. And what I've done was to post these on my site. Now, I understand that this might not be, some people another way of doing that, or also, you hear a lot of TripAdvisor, but I honestly don't know how I can take advantage of that because I'm not one service. I mean, I am service provider, but I'm not one hotel or one excursion provider or something. So I don't know. I'm quite willing to hear more about this.
Sure. Well, first of all, it's good that you recognize that these different online channels are in one way or another really important. And you've done the first thing, which is asking your customers what you do well and what you could improve on. And this is actually really important because you need the feedback in order to refine your products and refine your service and make sure you're providing the right things. In terms of what you've been doing, I think it's actually great that you want to put those comments on your site. I think you also feel that it's maybe not quite the right way to go about it. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have said that. And I think there's a clear reason for that. It's because on the web is all about trust, and people buy today, especially in travel, where it's a very personal. It's also a very risky thing to buy online and not know what you're getting involved in. So people want to feel quite a strong element of trust when they're making online travel purchases. So another great thing about your business is that you mentioned TripAdvisor, and you're right in pointing out that this is a really important channel. In fact, all review sites are hugely influential. The problem for your business is that you're between two places. But there's a couple of ways to look at this. First of all, potential travelers are looking to take trips which are recommended and are endorsed by other travelers. So that also applies to the hotels that you choose. And actually, you put quite a lot of work into selecting the right hotels. And that's part of what you offer as a package. So it's really important that you make sure that when you communicate a package, you also communicate the hotel review rating as well, and try and build in that into your site in terms of comments, in terms of the whether it's a 4.1, 4.2. It's really important that you make sure you build that into your site, because that's going to give potential customers a lot of trust in the choices that you're making for them already. But I think the other thing, and this is where there's a slightly more indirect opportunity, is in terms of the reviews that people write about the different hotels that they stay in. So if you actually drive people to write reviews about the experiences that they have with you, but they talk about the fact that they were with Surya Retreats when they did that, then they actually will be promoting you on different review sites, which is obviously going to be really good for you. And you have a couple of retreats coming up, so really try to get the most out of those as opportunities. So thanks a lot, Laura, for joining us today. I know you're very busy. So we'll leave you to get back to organizing your next retreat, and we look forward to hearing from you in the next program.
Great. Thank you so much again for all the feedback.
Thanks. So that was Laura telling us how she's been getting on. And I think, as you can see, it's also been a tough learning curve starting a business and learning even sometimes how to put the basics and the foundations in place and get those right, and the importance of that. So we'll be hearing more from Laura as she joins us again next week here in the studio. But without any further ado, I'm going to move straight on with the topic of online reputation and have a look at what we're going to cover today. So first of all, looking at the principles of online reputation, we're going to try and help you define what is online reputation, also understand how to manage online reputation, also looking at how we can help you to actively improve your online reputation, and also how to encourage and enthuse your customers to write reviews. We're going to give you some insights into how to look at your own online reputation. We're going to give you 10 steps to review success, and also take a quick look at the impact of online reviews. So that's what I'm going to cover in the next 10 minutes. So, online reputation does matter. And we've come up with a short phrase just to help you really understand what this means to your business. Reputation is the sum of what you say about yourself and what others say about you. I think that sums it up very, very well. Because the challenge with reputation is how clearly your own communication messages aligns with the real experience that you actually offer, and then with the experience that your customers felt they had and then they write about. So it's really important to consider reputation is more than just the review. It's also about how well your product stands up to the way you've communicated it, and then how people feel about that. 80% of young business travelers do attach a really considerable importance to online reviews. And of course, it's not just business travelers. For almost all travelers today, there is some element of review checking to actually validate that the decisions they're making are approved and endorsed by other users who also felt that they were good experiences. Reviews are incredibly important today. Ratings and reviews of visitors heavily influence the decision-making process. And also reviews and images and user-generated content also help give other visitors confidence, because when you publish your own high glossy marketing material, it's also important for your customers to take a look at the real perspectives posted by others within their community who they respect, that actually they feel is sometimes more authentic. So it's really important to have a twofold look at how you communicate your business. So how can you manage your reputation? Well, first of all, it's really important to create content and engage with your customers and with your potential customers on the web. So first of all, thinking about the social media channels that you work with and how to update those channels with really relevant content. Think about how you can create a unique point of view perspective on your business that others can see, so they can get to really understand the people behind the business and what it is you really have to offer beyond the sort of glossy images. Think about how you can use images to communicate very authentic, experience-driven approaches to or experiences within your business, and think about how you can engage others to also help create that kind of content. Second is to think about how you engage your visitors. It's really important, whether it's on review sites or whether it's on social media, that you think about the importance of that conversation you have with your customer. It's important to engage visitors across social media and also on review sites, and in particular respond to their concerns. But when you do this, it's really important to consider that people, and travel is in particular something that's very personal. People are not just booking a holiday or booking an experience, whether you're a tour operator, a hotel, or any other kind of travel company. They're also making a personal commitment of their time to enjoy their personal time with your brand and what you have to offer. So it's actually a very personal experience, and it's very important to make sure that your personality that you put into your business comes through in the relationships that you have with your customers. So make sure you build those relationships, and of course, when there are problems in your business, make sure that you take action and that you're seen to be taking action. So, looking at 10 steps to reputation success, we thought it would be helpful to summarize here in 10 simple steps the key things that you need to consider. So first of all, make sure that you are respected as an SME. What this means is that being a small business is not an obstacle to succeeding online. It's actually an advantage. And if you communicate about your business and about its size and about the people behind it, you actually have a competitive advantage over global multinationals, which have a much harder time showing the personality and the real people behind their business. So make sure your customers really understand who you are and really respect and actually embrace the fact that you are a small business. Second is to remain transparent and personal in all your communication. When there are problems, it's really important to hold your hands up and take responsibility for that. And also, when you communicate information, it's important to be completely honest and straightforward with people. This sounds very simple, but often we don't want to accept fault, and we sometimes like to brush over things that we don't think are particularly good or positive to share about our business. But customers much more prefer an honest approach than anything else. It's really important to monitor what those customers are saying about you, and I'm going to cover these a little bit later, and Ramona will actually go into much more detail about that. But there are real opportunities to monitor the sentiment that people are talking about your brand, and also very specific things that people are saying about you. And then, of course, when you do identify conversations happening across the web through sites, review sites and social media, it's really important that you are there quickly to react and respond to people's concerns. There's nothing more reassuring from an unhappy customer than a quick response from a manager who shows a genuine willing action to actually try and remedy that. When you have criticism, it's really important that you address that criticism. So we've got a 3 A's approach, which is very simple: act, acknowledge, and apologize. If you follow these 3 A's, these are the key principles to addressing criticism. And I know from the feedback that we've had in preparing this that negative reviews is really a big challenge for a lot of small businesses. And they sometimes struggle to know how to cope with that or know how to deal with that. And they see this as perhaps one of the biggest threats that they have when it comes to online reputation. But if you think about act, acknowledge, and apologize, you're starting with already a good point in which you show that you show your customers that you do take their comments very seriously and you do want to incorporate their feedback into your business. And that's at least the starting point to addressing negative reviews. When it comes to your brand is not just on your own website. Your brand is across all of the channels where people meet, talk about, or experience your brand. And of course, that includes social media and review sites. So take ownership of your brand. Now, you can do that in 2 ways. One is simply taking ownership on different sites where your brand is present and making sure that you are able to manage that. And all of the top review sites allow you to a certain extent, manage your own profile or your own business on those. But also take ownership of what others are saying about you. Try and influence the conversations and try and make sure that positive experiences are overwhelmingly the ones that are shared. When you have negatives, make sure that you try and turn them into positives. Something as simple as replying and showing people what you're going to do to rectify a situation is actually a really good step, and it shows other visitors how much you care about negative comments and addressing those. 8, learn from your mistakes and experiences. You know, online reputation is not just about what your customers are saying about you and how you can try and manage that. It's also about how you change your business and develop and adapt your business. Thanks to all of that feedback, which unfortunately in 2015 is largely public. But the best thing that you can do as a business is address that and make changes to your business if there are key issues, such as regular complaints about cleanliness. If you see that again and again and again, you know actually that this is a problem within your business. And rather than trying to ignore it or minimize the conversation that's taking place around that, the best thing that you can do as a business is address the issue of cleanliness, if that is indeed the problem that you have. The 9th point is to monitor and take advantage of all of the intelligence. Take time in your business management to put aside once a week or once a month enough time to look at all the conversations, look at the rankings, and look at everything that's taking place and see what you can do to rectify those. And of course, ask for help if needed. There are many, many different resources and places where you can go to get support, whether it's your local chamber of commerce, whether it's the web, whether it's actually another business which has a very similar position to you. So let's look at what the impact of reviews are on SMEs. Well, the numbers are pretty outstanding. If a hotel increases its rating point by just 1 point on a 5-point scale, it can have really, really huge positive results for its business. So first of all, it can charge 11% more. It leads to a 9% increase in revenue. So you can actually charge more as a business. And it makes customers 13.5% more likely to book. Now, obviously, this is from research, so that may be more or less in different markets. But clearly, those figures really stand out as huge potential commercial value in having positive reviews. So it's really worth working on it. There is a really direct link between review satisfaction and occupancy. Those, especially in properties, those properties which have a very high occupancy rate are generally those that also have very good customer satisfaction. Reviews also act as guest intelligence, so you can really take that on board within your business. And obviously you can then shape your communication around all of the reviews. And by that we mean not just addressing concerns, but also looking at what people love about your business, whether they speak about a specific dish that you serve in your restaurant, or whether they speak about the experience or the friendliness of the staff. If these are the things that people love about your business and they talk about them, why not embrace those and build them into your email newsletters, your social media, and all of these different channels through which you communicate. Customer reviews, whether you like it or not, they do have an impact on your reputation and your business. So you have to pay attention and you have to make sure that you don't ignore them. It's important that you leverage those opportunities from reviews. Make sure you leverage that visitor intelligence by taking advantage of tools which exist already. Many of them are free, and many of them have a freemium business model where you start out as a small business, free or very inexpensive, and the pricing of that product will scale up accordingly. You can really get a snapshot on what people are saying, and in some cases, very simple traffic light signaling, whether it's positive indicated by green or if it's negative indicated by red, or actually pulling out specific comments which are spoken about across the web. You can also identify commonly used keywords and then use those in your communication. You can identify trends and opportunities, so you can see what people are saying in different seasons. And you can also see what maybe some things that you couldn't see in your business will start to come out. But ultimately, reviews is about customer satisfaction. And when you take on board all of that, you can start to improve your customer satisfaction work and, of course, engage with your customers through key channels. And not forgetting channels like Twitter as well, which are not directly travel channels, but very important in terms of conversing with your customers. Identify the issues that do come up and make sure you address those in your approach to running the business. What we've done here is we've put out 4 ways of looking at online reputation. And the first is to manage online reputation in social media. This is a huge space with many, many different channels. And we've covered this broadly across the series. And we will look at social media in the next program. But there is a real opportunity there to engage with the right communities through social media. And in effect, this does actually help form your reputation. It's not the reputation we think about when we talk about review sites, but it is part of your reputation. Visitor surveys, it sounds very traditional, but actually visitor surveys today are much more sophisticated. Scheduling automatic responses after your guest checks out, sending them a survey, getting their feedback, even if it's very simple, is really important because then you can start to identify issues. Some products and tools which exist actually go much further and allow you to integrate that kind of thing into feedback tools. Social insights are not enough. It's really important not just to create content, engage with communities, but of course to monitor and respond to reviews and feedback. And there are tools which really help you get a good understanding of what's being said about your business and allows you to pick and react to those negative comments. But importantly, and I think this sometimes is overlooked when we talk about digital, the importance of face-to-face communication can't be said enough. The best place for you to address your customers' concerns are in your business. If somebody is unhappy, it's important that you try and, first of all, make sure that you are approachable, and secondly, that you can respond to those concerns that your customers have. If you can correct a concern that your customers have whilst they're still with you, there's a far, far less chance that they're going to go and write a review afterwards. The point where they write a review is already at the point where they're almost out of your control. So, takeaways from this section. Manage your expectations of how you convey your business prior to your visitor coming and make sure they align with the real experience. Have a consistent approach to monitoring and improving your reputation. Set aside the time and do it regularly. Monitor reviews and respond to customer feedback as soon as it happens. Follow the 3 A's approach: act, acknowledge, and apologize. Ensure your product and service is right, and build in any feedback that you have through review sites to actually improve it. Ultimately, if people are unhappy, they're unhappy with your product. And build relationships. It's a good opportunity to actually embrace and get involved in the conversations which are happening around your business and show the real and personal side that is behind your business. So, moving on to our next section, and I hope that's been a really helpful set of takeaways for you. We'll be hearing more about online reputation from Ramona Wagner just in a short while. But first, we caught up with Patrick Robinson, Head of Public Policy at Airbnb, to find out why Airbnb has been so transformative and why reputation is right at the heart of that. Okay, I'm really pleased to be joined by Patrick Robinson, Head of Public Policy, Europe and Canada at Airbnb. Thank you very much, Patrick, for joining us. Airbnb has been a phenomenal success. Why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about what your role is within the company?
So my role with Airbnb is to tell our story and the story of our community to regulators and governments across Europe and Canada to help educate them about what we're about and what our hosts are doing, but also to talk to them a lot about the sharing economy, collaborative consumption models, and how laws and regulations can catch up to take account of this new economic model.
Great. Now, we've heard a lot about this word sharing economy, and it's been thrown around, I think, a lot largely to the very good success of Airbnb. And a lot of people have different takes on it, and some people just don't really understand what it means. What's your take on it? What is it all about?
I think the sharing economy is one of a number of phrases that are used almost interchangeably to refer to the same thing. We hear about the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, the peer-to-peer economy. Essentially, they're all terms that mean the same thing, and it's actually a name for a very, very old idea, which is people using the stuff they have, that things that they own, so a boat or a car or an apartment, or intangible things that they have, like their time or their skills, and sharing them with other people, sometimes for money, sometimes not for money. And what has really propelled the sharing economy into the public consciousness and has taken businesses like ours to higher and higher degrees of success is the role that technology plays in bringing suppliers and consumers together in environments of trust and transparency that enables you to basically share just about anything with anybody at any time. Your car, your dog, your clothes, you name it, somebody is sharing it somewhere.
So it's not new, but technology has certainly been an enabler for this new rise that we're seeing. And tell me, what do you put down to Airbnb's success today? Because you've had phenomenal growth, phenomenal success. I think people have been quite astounded, both consumers when they discover Airbnb, and it's for the first time, it's something quite interesting and surprising for them. And I think also for businesses who see Airbnb as something they didn't quite expect to sort of enter the market, if you like. So what do you put down to your success?
Well, the company is about 6 years old now. We were founded in 2008, and it took a while for it to get going. But we really are genuinely seeing a massive growth in interest in Airbnb. It took about 4 years before we hit the millionth guest staying using Airbnb worldwide. And now we're doing more than 1 million guests every single month. So it has become a very big phenomenon. And I'd put that down to two things. I think the first thing is that the consumer context has changed quite significantly. We have lots of people who are demanding a different kind of tourism experience. They want to live like locals when they travel. They want to experience kind of the authentic side of the places that they go to. And obviously people are also recognizing on the other side of that transaction that there is some money to be made from renting out a spare room or renting out their apartment. And that kind of coming together of supply and demand has really helped propel this. I think the second trend, I'd say, or the second factor in that growth, is that Airbnb has spent an awful lot of money and time and energy and skill in making these transactions as fantastic as they possibly can be. Safe, transparent. We've invested in customer service in just about any language you can think of. We've invested in innovative insurance and protection products that help to maintain a sense of trust and confidence that staying in somebody's home is going to be safe, or that having somebody to stay in your home is going to be safe. You know, we've put a lot of effort and thinking into making those review systems that really power the currency of trust in the community, making those as effective and easy and as accurate as they can be. And the combination of those factors is really what we've seen take the sharing economy, and Airbnb in particular, into the stratosphere.
Okay, great. And I guess also you operate on a very kind of transparent basis, and this is something that we've seen across the tourism industry, a huge move towards the importance of reviews and being able to see what other users think and be able to trust those opinions. I think it's happened across all industries, but in particular in tourism, where there's always that level and element of uncertainty when you go to a foreign country or another place, or you enter a very personal environment. You want to be very, very sure about having the full picture, not just from the person selling it to you, but from all the other people who you perhaps identify with more closely. what I'm keen to understand now is how would you see Airbnb fitting in the tourism economy? Because would you consider that your hosts would be considered as tourism businesses? Where do you sort of see them fitting in?
It's an interesting question, and one that we get a lot in a number of countries across Europe. And as you will no doubt be aware, the rules governing businesses and private enterprise are actually very fragmented across Europe. For the most part, the hosts who are listing their places on Airbnb are not businesses. They're people. They're real people who tend to have another source of income. They probably have a job. And for the most part, they are listing their space for only a short period of time a year. We study this periodically to just make sure that we're understanding the shape of our community. And for example, the last published numbers in the United Kingdom say that people who are renting their space on Airbnb typically do so for about 33 days a year. Now, what that means is that a great many people will actually only be listing their space for a couple of weeks while perhaps they're on holiday. So we don't believe, and many you as a host, your personality is what's going to elevate that experience beyond the everyday and into something really special.
Okay, so that's really interesting because we focus a lot on technology and all the trends, but I think ultimately what you're saying is what it comes down to is a really good product, making sure that what you offer is outstanding, and something as simple as cleanliness, if that's not taken care of, the rest of the product can look great, but if it's not there in the detail, guests are going to be naturally upset. And also your own personality, the personality that you put into your business and into your relationship, or in this case, if you're not a business still, the personality that you put into that kind of backwards and forwards with your customers. I guess these are the same learnings that even very large tourism businesses need to sort of take on board in order to see what the bigger trend is and what they need to really prioritize.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the keys to this for hosts is ensuring that what they're advertising and what they're putting up on the platform is actually reflective of real life. Again, our head of hospitality, Jip Connolly, talks a lot about how disappointment equals expectations minus reality. If you're disappointed with something, it's because it probably didn't live up to whatever expectations you had of it in the first place. And actually, while ensuring that the reality is as good as it possibly can be is a crucial thing, actually setting expectations accurately is as important, particularly in accommodation that is not going to be standardized as a hotel would be. People's apartments are unique. They have their quirks and their idiosyncrasies. And therefore, if you're being transparent and open on your listings so that guests can see that you're on the 5th floor and there isn't a lift, or that you happen to have a view that looks out over one part of the city, but you can't see that one landmark that people come to see when they come to the city, people will not be disappointed when they experience that. So the physical experience is absolutely crucial, but that expectation setting thing at the beginning is also very important to ensuring that at the end of it you get a great review.
Okay, Patrick, thank you very much for sharing those insights. I guess everything you've told us about how your hosts and also how Airbnb has succeeded are lessons that any business, in fact, can take on board, because it's the changing behavior and expectations of the consumer, which I guess has led to your success and also leads to the success of your different hosts within your own site.
That's all right.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing those insights with us, and we look forward to hearing more from Airbnb in the future.
So these were some very good points from Patrick Robinson. Now I'm going to be talking a little bit more about why good reputation really matters, and how you then also can get started, because that's really probably where many of you are joining in today. And if you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to tweet us by using the hashtag #MyTourismBiz, which you can also see here at the bottom now on the slide. And we will see to answer them later on in the program or even during the program. So how do you actually get started? We will be looking at some of the key monitoring tools that are out there. Also, how can you actually encourage reviews? Tips on responding to different reviews, and we'll be sharing some insights on how do you actually deal with feedback, and how can you also create content to actually foster your online reputation. I also have to say that my part is divided into two parts. And in the middle part, we will be hearing from a small business who will be sharing some really good insights. And afterwards, it will be back to me. So first of all, how do you actually get started? I think there's really 5 key points if you haven't really thought about online reputation before. And also, if you have thought about it before, it might be really worth checking if you're still on the right track or if there are things that you should improve. So first of all, you really need to monitor your online reputation. I think Nick already stressed that point. Also, keep on encouraging customers to post reviews, post feedback, because the more people do that, the bigger sort of your digital footprint gets, and also your online reputation grows. Also, then if you receive feedback or reviews on various channels, then also respond to them and make sure that this is sort of a continuous process. Also create content on social media and other platforms to really strengthen your brand and also the awareness that you have, and also for visitors that come in touch with your brand, that they really see what you're all about, what sort of experience they can have in your business. And very importantly, deal with positive and negative feedback. Don't be afraid of answering to maybe negative comments. So now when we look at different tools that you can use to monitor your online reputation, I would say we can identify sort of 3 top-level areas or different kind of tools that you should be thinking of. First of all, we have social listening tools. We also have influence scores and tools. And the last one is online reputation monitoring and management tools, which I think were mentioned in some of the tweets that we received beforehand. So first of all, social listening tools. These are really all tools of various social media channels. And it really monitors specific performance of those channels. So every channel will probably have some sort of monitoring tool already. And there's also free tools out there that you can subscribe to, where you can create an account and you get a little dashboard and you can see sort of who's talking about you, when are they talking to you, what sort of hashtags might they use, what sort of words are they using, and then also engage with them. So it just compiles and analyzes sort of what is out there for you. So it also identifies conversation, mentions, and that's really, really useful intelligence. And it really helps you to save a lot of time when you then actually engage with different visitors. The second part is influence scores and also tools that focus more on pulling actual data from different social networks and identify the level of influence that you have, and also who's part of your network and who are the different influencers. And this is really valuable insights, not so much directly, of course, with the end consumers, but more in a way where, as you work on your online reputation, as you engage with people, you will also increase sort of your influence that you have as your brand and also your business. And you want to identify also, people that you want to keep in touch with that have a large followership. And this is also really good insight then, and also really practical in terms of identifying who are the most important sort of people to engage with. And then the third set of tools are really a little bit more complex, online reputation monitoring and management tools. At the moment, these mainly focus on hotels, where reviews and sort of direct contact with guests is very, very important, but also with restaurants, bars, and also destinations. So if you fall into any of the categories, this is now quite interesting for you. So there are different sort of sets of tools. And what they focus on is mainly reviews. That means they provide an index or a dashboard where you can monitor who actually left a review where, and then it helps you to identify which ones you need to reply to. Also, social media monitoring with regards to sentiment analysis. That means it shows you also most often in a dashboard or maybe as part of a report, sort of what are people actually saying about your brand, what keywords are they using. Then those tools very often also provide guest surveys. So for hoteliers, this is really, really interesting because some of the tools actually provide guest surveys that you as a hotelier can put on an iPad and have in your hotel, so on the checkout process or during their stay, they can actually fill it out. Or you can send them afterwards via email. And very often also they combine other sort of questions that can then lead back into different review sites. So you can actually drive your visitors to leave a review, which is then visible for others, or they can also just provide guest feedback. Then competitor intelligence is also another interesting aspect that some of the tools are offering, where you can basically compare your performance, your online reputation with those of your competitors, which also gives you a good insight on how well or not so well you're doing. And it also gives you insights on how you can actually optimize your revenue. And Nick mentioned that earlier in terms of seeing if your reviews are very good, you could actually increase the price of your hotel nights, etc., or you have to decrease them. And some of the most advanced tools also offer sort of guest satisfaction tools that are more focused on service and communication. So if a guest is at your property, they can send push notifications, have a lot of guest intelligence about how much the guest is actually spending on average, and can also send them messages saying, do you need more towels? And then the guest can get back to that. And it's sort of really an instant communication, also seeing and knowing what sort of communication tools the guest is actually using. So all in all, once you have decided or thought about which tools you would like to use and which tools are out there, you also need to encourage reviews, which is another very important point. So you really need to make sure that you get feedback already during the stay, which is something Nick already mentioned. Also engage with your visitors on social media. Ask them to share their experience or write a review really proactively, and that could be on any social media channel they're on. And make it as easy as possible for them. So either send them, direct message, provide them links, or tell them, where they can actually leave a review. Also empower visitors to write about the experience, and also if you get any good reviews or comments, make sure to integrate them on your social media. So next up, I'm very pleased to be hearing from one of our case studies, Iona Edelman from Il Poggio alle Ville, which is in the north of Tuscany, which is a very interesting hotel, and she'll be sharing very good insights. Okay, I'm very pleased to be welcoming our next interviewee, Iona Edelman from Il Poggio alle Ville, which is a hotel in the north of Tuscany. And I'm very pleased to be welcoming her to share some of the insights as an actual SME who's doing quite well in terms of monitoring their online reputation and also looking at different ways of marketing their online reputation as a business. So welcome to this interview. I think first of all, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your business and sort of what makes it special.
Hello, everybody. I'm co-owning this complex of farmhouses and a rustic villa together with my husband. It's actually a family business from my husband's family. And it has been in our property for more than 150 years. And this large villa, very rustic. So people who come and visit us, our guests, basically live on the farm, experience how life was in these old farmhouses where we've still maintained the rustic style and old furniture. And they see the works in the fields and in the woods, but enjoy modern facilities, like pools and free Wi-Fi, and also the Tuscan food that we cook for them once per week.
Great. So I think, diving straight into sort of today's topic of the live event, maybe you could tell me a little bit about sort of the overall marketing and communication approach that you are taking.
Certainly. We have changed a lot from the beginnings because our business was opened in 1999. So initially, of course, we did, brochures and catalogs and everything. But in 2006, 2007, we started investing more and more into online communication, of course, in the website, and then in keywords in the beginning, in campaigns on keywords, and then, of course, in social media. So I'm the one in charge with taking care of that. And we have a Facebook account, we have a Twitter account, a Pinterest account, an Instagram, and also our own blog. We use these different social media in different ways. I'm not repeating the same information in each social media, but just start trying to express things in different way, but also share different information. Of course, Facebook is the one that is most known, so we are more active there, using a lot images of the houses, of the environment, but a lot also of the region, and promoting a lot the region, Mugello, which is the northern part of Tuscany, promoting also Florence, because we are very close. It's just a 40 minutes drive to Florence. So we are doing Twitter. We use it a lot as an interaction between us as a small business, other small businesses, institutions, local and international, that work in tourism, and bloggers. We collaborate a lot with bloggers to increase the awareness of our territory, of the region, Mugello, and of Tuscany in general. And then I'm very fond of Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram, of course, is growing a lot all over the world, actually, and it's very fast. It's a lot of fun, and we just post photos of everything that is nice and happening and wanting to share, and so we are reaching a community of Instagrammers who, for the time being, have not been converted into guests, but they enjoy a lot what we express there. And Pinterest in Italy is not so popular as probably it is in the United States, where it works a lot with businesses. But I'm how should I say? I have this vision that Pinterest will help a lot businesses, because it is telling stories through images, of course, always connected to your website or to your blog, but where you can share with your guests or with your potential guests something very private, because I've noticed that apart from the boards where I pin photos from our complex of farmhouses or the gardens or just the woods and the fields, I have created some boards that are very personal. For example, one is called Gardens We Love. And through this, I'm reaching people who are passionate about gardens and then who will probably look at other boards that I have. Another one is on Downton Abbey, because I'm just in love with this film, and it's such a large community. It's so vast, and there are people who would probably join me there and also have a look at the other things.
Yeah,
so
I think
also, it's part of, because we are a small business and it's a family business, we have to share something of ourselves, of our personalities. And people like this because they get to know you, and when they arrive at your place, they feel that they've known a bit about you.
I think that's a very good point, because I think personality is definitely something that most SMEs have really a lot of, and that's really what makes their individual businesses so unique. So basically projecting some of that personality and maybe the uniqueness and also the passion that they have, maybe not just for their own specific business, but maybe for their area or for the specific field. I think that's something then quite powerful if you communicate that digitally. So maybe now looking at your website, because I know you're working on the website, and as
website things.
yeah. and it will be launched soon. So maybe tell me a little bit about sort of what were the thoughts, about sort of redesigning your website also.
Well, the renewing and rebranding our place in Bujalance actually came from all the comments and all the reviews in writing, and also live, that the guests in the last, I'd say, 3 years were just sharing with us. Many people in some reviews are saying the photos do not do justice to the place. People said, well, from your website the place looked great, but when I come here it's even more beautiful because we're just surrounded by 35 hectares of land, so it's pure nature. And it's true, we were looking back in the website, and the website did not reflect at all this feeling of openness and nature and bright colors and so on. So we said, well, it's time to do it. It's time to invest into a new photo session. I think we had this summer nearly 2 weeks and a half we had a professional photographer coming, and we tried to explain her what we wanted, and we tried to explain her the feeling that we want to communicate through the photos, and we worked together with her because we wanted to give life to the houses, not just have a sterile photo of, just a room and nothing, but just to make them feel what would it be like to live on a farm through those photos. So this was one step. And then I started reading all the reviews that we had from the very beginning, from the moment that we joined, for example, TripAdvisor, and also the ones left on the Facebook, and also comments from guests who have been coming and returning. And I asked them, and it's very interesting how using all this information and their points of views, and also their the comments when there was a shortcoming. And this is important because during summer we had a guest who said, I chose your place. I knew the area that I wanted to come to, the northern Tuscany, and I chose your place because I liked that you answered the reviews, that you were very sincere and natural. And this is important, and to be yourself and to be honest and everything. And then, of course, we use the new tool of reviews and posts that are on posts are all for Facebook. So we are not only saying, oh, I like that you made a review or that you wrote a post on my website, but I answered that. So I try to start a communication. And then we plan to also start using the Google reviews. I don't think they will probably compete with them, not for the moment. It's just a different type of traveler, a different type of guests that will use a different type of tools. For the time being, we haven't invested into a technological tool as such to measure and to analyze this because, to be honest, we haven't received such an incredible amount of reviews, thousands and thousands, like big hotels. And I think for the time being, we can monitor them like this. But I hope that in the future, if this is going to be the case, we will do that because, of course, even if we are a small company in tourism, one has to invest. That's obvious. And then it will just give me more time to do other things if I just have a tool that will at least give me the first overview of what's going on with the reviews, and then I will work more in detail or more specific arguments. Yes.
After hearing from an actual business on how they actually monitor their online reputation, now I'm going to be talking a little bit more about how do you actually respond to reviews, because I guess that's really quite practical advice that we can give at this point. It's really good practice to respond within the first 24 hours after a review has been posted. You should definitely respond to both positive and negative reviews because most visitors or new guests or customers will actually look on review sites and look at, what are the top reviews that were given, what are the sort of the more poor, like the bad reviews that were given, and what was the reaction to either of them, to also make a judgment call about who is actually the person behind this hotel or this business. And that's quite important. Also monitor regularly when the different reviews are posted. And if you receive any negative reviews, there's really some crucial points to consider. First of all, definitely make your research. Research the guest's stay or the experience that they had, and gain as much intelligence as possible that you can get from from your staff, from your colleagues, to really make sure you understand what's actually happened. And of course, depending on how severe the negative review is, you should definitely do more research or less. Then the response needs to be appropriate and then also personal. That's very, very important. And also time relevancy for the response. So if you receive a very bad response, the sooner you can actually respond to that, the better. When you then write the review or the response, it really needs to be honest, not defensive or aggressive. You should not write anything that you will regret later. This is really your opportunity and really a chance to turn a negative experience around, and it's quite important. And also bear in mind that, of course, everything that you are writing in this response will certainly be read by future guests. So in terms of practical steps on how you can actually respond to a negative review, you should be very personal, polite, and also thank the guest by name in the first part of the response. Then also express sympathy and apologize for the poor experience. And also show the guest that you care. One important thing to consider is the more often you're actually stating your brand name as part of this response, you also want to avoid sort of dropping too many brand names because of SEO. You wouldn't want to show you wouldn't want users to see a negative response first thing when they Google your brand name. Make also sure that you mention what changes you made or what changes you will make, and also don't overpromise and be realistic in what changes you can actually make. After that, also see what follow actions you need to take. So that could either be both internally, but also in communicating further with the guest. So depending on the severity of the negative review, also make sure that you might take any further communication offline. Also, if something really went wrong, you might also want to offer some incentives, but that's not needed. And also, if you offer any incentives, bear in mind that there might be a further response than from the person who posted a negative review, and you don't want people posting negative comments all the time just in order to get an incentive. And in case this is not enough, and whoever posted a negative review or a comment is posting another one, your objective should really be damage control and respond again in a similar manner. Of course, there's not just negative reviews or that have been given. You also might sometimes experience mixed or positive reviews. So in terms of responding to mixed reviews, follow a similar approach. So thank the visitor or the guest that you had. Make sure you highlight all of the positives and also address the negatives in a bundle by combining them with positive comments. And always finish a response on a high note, so on the positives, and also invite the guest back. If you received a positive review, the reason why you should really respond to that is because you really want to make sure that the customer who already visited, who had a great experience, is willing to share it, is actually returning. So you turn that person into a loyal customer. And happy customers are also great brand ambassadors. So maybe after leaving a review on one channel, the person or the guest might then actually engage further with you and your brand on different social media channels. So also highlight some of the positive comments that they mentioned in the review, and also get them to spread the word about your business and be quite personal and appreciative of the fact that they actually spend some of their time writing this review, and then welcome them back for another stay. Another really important point that you should consider is also creating content, because by creating further content, you can actually also then make sure that your online reputation keeps on growing, and also that the content intelligence that you have, so basically knowing, is the content that you have on your website, is the content that you're posting on your social media channels, and platform, is that actually representing your business? Is it actually reflecting the experience that visitors have there? Also make sure that you include different keynotes that your visitors use to describe your business as part of further content that you post. I think this was a very good point that Iona made. Blogs are also a great way to be more personal, and also update platforms and keep updating them with content that's very authentic and personal and real, because that's what visitors will be looking for, and include user content to strengthen your online reputation. So a couple of key takeaways now to sum this up. You really need to follow a strategic approach when you actually monitor your online reputation. Also dedicate a reasonable amount of time and resources to managing your online reputation. Take advantage of the tools that can actually help you to be more efficient, and be proactive and actually engage with visitors. Make sure visitors actually spread the word about your business. This doesn't cost a thing. Often you just have to tell them or ask them to do so. Be personal and build a relationship with your ambassadors, and also keep monitoring, improving and driving your online reputation, because really you're in control of all of this. Next up, I'm really pleased to be hearing now the second part of the interview with Iona Edelman from Il Poggiale Ville, who will be giving again some quite good insights and also tips on what you should be doing. So I think, a lot of the tourism businesses now watching this recording of the interview, they will probably say, oh, it's really great, you seem very passionate about it, and you seem to know quite a lot about all of the different channels, that you should be looking at. So you're looking at Facebook, you're also looking at Google, you're looking at TripAdvisor, you're also trying to see sort of where, in which other places, visitors might have written something about your business and the experience they had. But how much time do you actually, how do you take time to do that?
But I would say just take one thing at a time. For example, of course, try and insert yourself on TripAdvisor and put the nice photos, and then, of course, invite your guests to write a review when they are still there in your place, in your hotel, in your property, in your farmhouse, in your B&B. And then check once per week, because of course it takes a few days for a review to be published, and try to thank them if they said something very nice and if you're impressed, and try to answer honestly if they have something to say that is not so nice. That's like a criticism or even a suggestion. Try and be yourself in whatever you say there, because this will come across for our future guests. One of the easiest ways to work with reviews is, of course, Facebook, because there is this new function that was available for hotels and tourism businesses, I think, starting a year ago, where people can also write reviews. So many people of your guests now are on Facebook. So ask them to just write a review and answer that one as well. It's just a few words, or with a smiley, or with a photo, or something like that. And if people like Google, then they are users of Google. A Google review will be even welcome. And try to ask them to share things of their holiday, because this is, even if it's not officially a review, it goes into a pool of information that's going to be out there on the web talking about you. And if they start tagging you, and especially this, we will notice this on Instagram, then you can answer back. And this is also part of your online reputation. Of course, your online reputation starts, of course, with also your site and with the way you answer an email, and with the way the booking goes and conclude the booking. The online reputation, the basic of the reputation, starts before the guests arrive and then continues during your stay and afterwards. And one important thing is never be polemical. If, for example, you see something that somebody said, not necessarily criticism, but something that you don't agree with, something that is part of your philosophy, but you don't feel it should be said that way, never reply. Because sometimes the way you write things and the way people read things online, which is very fast, sometimes things might be misunderstood. if you want to express your point of view, then express it through a different post, either on your blog, if you have one, if you have time to dedicate to write a post per month, for example, on that specific argument, or on a Facebook post, or with a tweet. I know it requests time. All these things request time, but if you use a lot smartphones and tablets, even, for example, when you take your kids to a sports activity, like I do with, we have 3 daughters, and you can imagine that I'm running in between them and work and cooking at home, because I like to do this. But if you're there, watching your kids, I don't know, running or swimming or something, well, just take a few, 5-10 minutes, check out if there is anything, if there's a new review on TripAdvisor, or if you can, for example, post a new photo on Instagram or Twitter that you took the other day. For example, this coming week, I'm going to post some photos because we are repainting some rooms. And just let people know, past guests will see this, your fans will see this, and future guests will see, oh, they're doing something to improve the place. So if I book with them, or the photos look nice, they're professional photos, but they do something else. They decided to repaint the entire villa, or if they decided to do the bathroom. And this gives a lot more information about you.
Yeah, I think those are all very good sort of tips and tricks of somebody who is very, very busy but still finds time to really do those important things. But, maybe also I think a lot of the tourism businesses, I think the checkout, process when somebody leaves, your restaurant or your hotel or your tourism business, and there is a crucial moment when you still have them face to face, and you can ask them sort of a couple of questions, sort of how was your stay? Did you enjoy it? I think it might be interesting to hear, what are you doing? What sort of questions are you asking? And how do you make sure, as you said earlier, that sort of from having sort of a certain online reputation, when they get in touch or when they have different touch points with your brand, to them staying there, and of course the online reputation continuing after their stay. How do you sort of get instant sort of feedback sort of in real life? And if they weren't satisfied, let's say, or if they had some specific points that maybe they said, that could have improved my experience or my stay, how do you then address these face to face?
Oh, actually, we do this, and we have always been doing this, and we do this, we don't wait for them to leave. Since this is a family business, and they are there as if they were in our home in a certain way, we ask them how things are going from, the first day of their stay. We, in our reception, we have lots of information about the area, about Florence, because we're in, within drive reach from Florence. And we ask them if they have a child, if they need anything. Of course, we do this also in the email. But we are trying to pamper them in a way, and to understand if everything is okay from day one. And so we try to establish a friendly environment for everybody, and we don't wait until the last day. I don't think it's nice. I don't know. I would feel embarrassed myself, but I think this being open to them makes them feel, relaxed, and not in a very, rigid structure. You check in, you check out, and that's it. And of course, we ask them if they have time, if they would like it, to write a review while they're there, or afterwards we send them an email reminder. Many people do, many people don't. But this doesn't mean that they don't want to, or that they haven't liked their stay. It's just some people who would just take it very slowly, and they just say, oh, they have other reviews. But probably they will recommend somebody to you, a friend of theirs. They will talk about you somehow. And I've seen this happening. People who have never written a review, people who are not actually on Facebook, historical guests, some from Germany, some from Netherlands, have been returning year after year, and have been sending friends, and have been using other ways actually of communicating. And some have told me things like, I'm not using any social media for myself personally, but I enjoy reading your blog posts. So even if I don't have time, I'm not a blogger, but even if I cannot write a blog every day or every other day, I just write it, I don't know, every month, every 2-3 weeks, when I have something nice to say or to present. And I say, but we enjoy being updated through your... So you could business like Facebook, for example, or Instagram is also very simple. But if you feel like you have to say something more, just do it through your blog. Once per month, it takes just 1 hour to write something and put up some photos. And there will be some people who will like that, and they can share it even via email, the traditional way. And this is part of working on your reputation, of course. All of us who have a small business in tourism, it's just ourselves, our families, or anyway, we're just very few people. And if you are yourself and natural, you feel more comfortable, you feel more relaxed. You don't feel like you have to perform. You will never, of course, compete with a 5-star hotel, but you offer something different. Social media that, in a sense, X-rays you somehow, if I may use this term. You have to be honest. You have to be yourself. You have everything to win, in this way.
Great. I think those are really some good and valuable points for other SMEs that are listening or that are rewatching the recording. I think sort of the overall message sort of after speaking to you is sort of online reputation and the whole sort of management process. It all sounds fairly complicated and complex. It sounds like that it's taking up a lot of somebody's time, and maybe there's a dedicated person needed. But in fact, that doesn't have to be the case. I think you're a very good example, showing just that if you're passionate about your business, about what you're doing, if the experience that you are providing is good, and your visitors are acknowledging the fact that that's a great experience that they're having and they're happy with it. And sort of bringing a lot of your personality, and then it doesn't have to be as complicated, and it's actually fun, I guess, to some extent as well, sort of engaging with people, getting their feedback, and also keeping that relationship going of visitors, because in the end, all you want is sort of those happy visitors to come back, again and again, and also invite and tell other friends about the great experience they had. So thank you very much, Iona. It was really great talking to you.
Thank you. I hope it's useful for everybody, and I'll be looking forward to the other webinars to hear other experiences from other colleagues in Europe.
Great, so that was Iona talking about how she works with her business, and I think really inspirational just to hear how hands-on and practical and very kind of pragmatic she takes as the approach to running her business and reputation. Now, we're nearly towards the end of today's program, but we do have another speaker coming up, and we will be going to your tweets just before the end. So if you haven't had a chance to tweet us yet, and you have some questions, thoughts, comments, you want to tell us which tools you're using, which tools you're struggling with, what you would like to know or understand better about online reputation, this is your last chance. So do send us a tweet to using the hashtag #MyTourismBusiness, and you can also tweet at EU Tourism and also at think_tourism. So we look forward to hearing your comments and reading those out later on. Now, without any further ado, let's go to our next interviewee, Frankie Thompson, travel blogger and author of As the Bird Flies, and she's been talking to us about the importance of creating really rich content with an authentic perspective. So let's hear what she had to say. Okay, so I'm very pleased to be joined by Frankie Thompson. You do many different things, Frankie, I understand, but one of the things you do is you run a very successful blog called As the Bird Flies, and you work with a lot of tourism businesses and destinations in collaborating with them. Let's start out by hearing a bit more about your blog and what it is you actually do.
So my blog is As the Bird Flies, and you can call me Bird as a result of that. I'm not offended, but I've been blogging as Bird for just over 3 years now, and before that I was actually a lifestyle change, and I moved to become a freelance writer and wanted to keep blogging and maybe make that part of my career. And so when I went traveling full time, that's what happened. The bird flew away and I kept blogging. But yes, since I am a travel content creator, I've crossed paths with a lot of travel brands and businesses. And for the last sort of 2 years and a bit, I've been working with brands on various different types of projects and collaborations, from press trips through to year-long campaigns, like a collaborative blogger project called Must Love Festivals, which I was part of, working with other bloggers who worked with DMOs, mainly tourist boards, to promote the festivals in their regions. So I think that's a little bit about me, but also how I work with tourist businesses.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the sort of phenomenon of blogging, which has blogging is not new. I think it's as old as the web, but I think it has seen a lease of life in the last couple of years. And I think the tourism industry is really starting to recognize that it has a real value to what they do in terms of marketing places and attractions and all the likes that go with it. Tell us from your point of view, what is the value and why has blogging suddenly become so interesting?
I think you're right. I think the last 2 years it's no longer a shameful thing. And I think certainly, like I said, in the last 2 years, I've started to work with brands, and that in itself has evolved. So before, I used to be invited to go on press trips, and that was purely just we paid for you to go to this place, and then you generate content off the back of that. And even though that's still a very profitable and beneficial arrangement for many people, it is interesting that now, certainly in the last 18 months, a year, we're seeing more collaborations. So a blogger is not just a content generator. They are actually almost a consultant and can offer brands advice and ideas and different ways of achieving what they want to achieve. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next, because I don't see it dwindling. I see it growing, and it's just how it will grow. And hopefully that will be a result of businesses working with us rather than one dictating to the other. Okay,
that's really interesting. Tell me a bit about online reputation. And when we think about online reputation in travel, we immediately think of reviews. And obviously this is hugely important. But how about forming reputation? What's the role of people like you and also content in helping to shape the reputation of a business or a place?
That's a very, very tricky question, because like you, I sort of think of TripAdvisor and those kind of review sites. And I mean, they get a bit of a bad rep nowadays because they can so easily, I think, still be sort of manipulated. Bloggers are a bit different, of course, and every blogger is different in themselves individually. And it isn't quite as simple now as inviting somebody on a trip and then holding your breath to see if they'd give you a bad or a good review. I think now there is more negotiation prior to a campaign, prior to a collaboration, and it's more about the blogger working almost like a consultant or an advisor and helping the SME to achieve what they want to achieve.
So tell us a bit more about working then with businesses and with brands. What's the right way to work with a blogger if I'm a company? Because I know that there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I'm sure you've experienced both.
There are several right ways, there are several wrong ways. And I can only really speak personally. Obviously, I talk to other bloggers and we compare good and bad stories. But I think one of the most important things is just to be honest and just to be open and with what you want to achieve and what you don't want to achieve. That's just as important. And treat it like you would any business arrangement. Just because we wear jeans and we are a bit casual and we're always on Instagram, it doesn't mean we're not professionals. We are actually, because we are our own businesses, we take what we do very
seriously. And actually, one of the things that is the biggest problem for bloggers is when we get approached to work together with somebody, you get 4 or 5 emails deep, and suddenly there's no budget or there's no effective compensation that is really worth the blogger's time. So be open, be honest, be clear about what you can offer the blogger, in the same way that you would expect if a blogger approached you, they would approach you with, this is what I can offer you, this is how you can benefit from working with me.
So it's important for businesses to understand that if they want to really go somewhere and get great content and get great stories out of working with bloggers, they have to first understand they're still entering a professional relationship, a nice one perhaps, but there are expectations on both sides in terms of what you can deliver. But I guess at the same time, to getting the most authentic outcome, it's important to also give you the creative freedom then.
Yeah, and that is, some people can see that straight away with a blogger. They see that as a real benefit, and effectively they're doing the kind of creation side, not just the content generation. They're coming up with the ideas. Ooh, it's one less thing for me to do. But then other people are a bit frightened by that, because it's a lot of freedom and you can't actually see how they work. And so how are they really spending my money or the time, So I think, yeah, and I do think that's a generational thing, and that will change a lot in the future. But really, to be totally frank, if a blogger doesn't deliver what they're supposed to, they probably won't be doing it for very much longer, because we're a small world, both on the business side and the blogging side, and people talk. And, it's like any industry, you won't get hired again if you don't deliver on what you're supposed to deliver. And especially when we're on the internet and we're talking about online reputation here, there's a lot of accountability in what we do, and it can be very clear and quick to see that somebody's not doing what they're supposed to. So embrace the freedom. I hope people can, trust, even though I've mentioned some scary stories. I think 9 times out of 10, if you give a blogger a little, they will really mold that, and you will get your absolute money's worth.
Great, and you just said it yourself. So we are talking about online reputation. Where does the element of trust come in? What is the role that a blogger like yourself does in building trust into a business?
Yeah, that's a good question, really, because essentially that's why a lot of people read blogs, because they want that honest, independent opinion. And so you could argue, when there's a business relationship with somebody, are they really independent? So in terms of the trust issue, I think this is slightly off topic, but something I really wanted to say. Before you engage with a blogger, I think you have to get to know them. And that doesn't mean sitting down for a couple of hours and reading their last 7 posts. That means actually following them for a few weeks on social channels as well as their blog, seeing, the kind of content they post, how regularly, the style, whether that could suit your brand and your message, and likewise seeing how they behave. I know that's a strange word to use, but when everybody's online so much, you can actually get quite a good picture of how somebody is and even what they don't share. So I think definitely that is really important, and I don't think that happens enough. And I appreciate that's a time investment on the part of the SME and the brand, but I see that as a real investment, because you will then know what you're getting, or certainly you'll have a better idea.
Great. So make the time investment, make sure you get to understand the personality of the blogger, make sure it fits with the personality of your brand, essentially, is what you're saying. And you'll have good results. Frankie, thank you very much for sharing those insights with us. I'm going to head over and look at your blog now, because it sounds really interesting. And I think we may be hearing more from you later in the series when we focus on content, because you also do a lot of professional content creation, which is a different topic again. So thanks very much for sharing your insight with us.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Thanks a lot for your time.
So, really interesting insights there from Frankie, and I think it goes to show as well that online reputation is not just about review sites. Sometimes we can get very carried away because they really influence the customer's decision in a massive, massive way at that booking point. But also when you think about your brand and what people know of your business and how they come to find out about your business, online reputation is also about what others are saying to bring people to your business. So I hope you found all of those really interesting different perspectives. I'm joined here again with Ramona. So Ramona, thanks for running through all of those insights. I know it was a lot to cram into a really short space of time. And of course, we are actually running right against time now. So we're going to go straight to the tweets that we've been receiving and hopefully try and answer some of the questions that we had coming in. So the first tweet we have is from Hans Lack. I think it's probably worth saying, Hans, you've been an amazing supporter. You really are getting behind these webinars, and your contribution is hugely welcome. So thanks very much for sharing all of your different thoughts and insights and experiences. Hans Lack has actually tweeted and said, what does it really take to earn 5-star guest reviews on online reputation management, #ORM on the path? So Ramona, what do you think is the key to getting those 5-star ratings?
Well, I think, to be honest, summing up sort of what we had before, I think it all starts with really getting your product right, getting the experience right, so that when people actually arrive at your hotel, your restaurant, your museum, no matter what sort of tourism, attraction you are, that they're actually happy with it, that you then actually also engage with them, that you get the right, content online, that you sort of spread the word about the great experiences they have, and then also that you engage with them to make them share reviews, positive comments and feedback, and then also for you to then include sort of those positive comments and reviews into your website, into your social media communication, because ultimately sort of making sure the product is right, making sure the experience is right, and making sure you're really engaging and you're getting online reputation right, and you're improving that and really, being in the driving seat with that. Ultimately, that will lead to, great sort of, great score.
I think we've heard a lot of comments on Twitter as well about, where do you want to be as a business? Do you want to be kind of in the middle, or do you want to be the best? And I think what we really see is those businesses that excel, they really get the high rankings. They really put that passion and effort into running their business. Ultimately, it's not really about the digital tools they're using. This is a way that people can share that. But like you said, the product, it always comes back to the product and the experience that customers have. I think what you have described and talked about is the need to not just make an assumption that people will write about the good experiences, but really, really push them to do that and use the right tools. If it's an automated email thanking them for their stay and driving them to write a review, that's a really powerful thing. Likewise, we were talking a lot about negative reviews, and I think what we see from the high-ranking 5-star businesses, they really listen to their customer. They put all of that negative feedback into improving and changing and adapting their business. They don't sit there complacently and think, well, okay, business is fine. They really understand that every single negative comment is a criticism of their business, and it's something they need to listen to. So I guess ultimately it doesn't really come down to the tools. The tools, well, certainly getting a 5-star rating, you can really, really push and enthuse that. But if your product's not good, it still won't change anything. So I hope that answers your question, Hans. Certainly, it's a very complex area, and it's not one single factor that's going to lead to good results. It's really hard work throughout your business. He's also mentioned Hotel Sacher, which of course is very famous in Vienna, and the fact that they have a cred score of 711, or 711 I should say, not mixing it with the US retail stores there. So as cred score that high, I mean, you didn't have that much time to really go into all these different scoring systems which rank influence and things like that. But just tell us in a snapshot, what's the cred score, clout score, all these different things, what's that all about?
Well, both the cred score and the cloud score are really looking at sort of social influence and trying to put a score onto that. So with the cred score, it goes up to 1,000. So 711 is, very good. I know that us as the think tank, we actually have a cred score of 786. And basically what that tells you is sort of the amount of influence that you have, that your network has, also how many followers you have, how many mentions and engagements, really looking sort of at the quality. But what's really interesting is then looking more into detail at, okay, so who are actually the key influencers as part of your network, and then also making sure that because they have a very, they're very influential, also then engaging with them. And then when we look at other, scores or ways of sort of measuring maybe performance for online reputation, I think in this tweet here it's mentioned trust score. I think it really goes down to making sure that, all of the reviews that you receive, that you really engage with them, that you respond to them in a very authentic way. As an SME, a lot of the SMEs always say, I'm really scared of it. I feel that, I'm very vulnerable as, being a small company. I don't have a big team. I might not have a marketing background or a PR background, as many businesses traditionally had, but really sort of go into the driving seat and make sure you deal with them, because really that's such an opportunity, and you will learn, you will make some mistake, but that's fine, because overall it will all come together.
So I guess in this tweet he's actually mentioned two different things really. The cred score, which he speaks about, is a specific tool from a specific provider which gives you an indication of how influential you are, right?
Yeah.
And that's based on the conversations, the Twitter, the reach.
Yeah.
It's probably good also if you're a business, because if you're thinking about niche marketing, which we were speaking about last week, you can also really identify specific individuals and brands and businesses which are very influential and will really help you to promote what you do. But then obviously the trust score is a different thing. That relates to a different tool. And we've all seen them. We're all familiar with them. The ranking of 1 to 5, and TripAdvisor has things like that, and all sorts of other channels have that. And I guess, taking on board all of these things is really key to that. Let's see what else we've got. So we have a tweet from Daniela who says, enjoying a lot of the webinar about how to manage your online reputation. She just says congratulations, so that's very nice. And she also loved the case studies that we had as well. So I'm really glad that you are enjoying those, and I hope you'll continue to watch the others. Well, we are more or less out of time, but there were a couple more comments about how to just get started, how to start working with the different tools which exist. And of course, we're not able to go really into detail, but I think something that's come up quite a lot is TripAdvisor. Obviously, it's such a well-known and important platform that people are considering. Certainly, the questions that we had were, how do you work with that? How do you deal with negative reviews? So what's your kind of, what would be your recommendation as a starting point for such important channels like that?
Well, I would definitely say that, it is worth starting maybe with just a few channels. So maybe, TripAdvisor might be a good starting point, but there's also others like, Facebook and Google, as Iona Edelman from El Poggio alle Ville described, where she's really working with those and she's monitoring them on a regular basis. Also really, replying and responding to the different reviews. And so she's also building up sort of a community and making sure that sort of the personal touches of her business really come through.
But I guess ultimately all of these really well-known and very famous tools, they all allow businesses to actually create a profile, log in, to claim and take ownership of their business and to manage it. And managing it can be as simple as putting the opening hours. If we're talking about Google, of course, you can put the opening hours there and people can find your business. And then if they search for it on a map, they actually have the right information about whether you're open or closed. Very basic stuff. If we look at review sites, people can also then respond to their guests directly through them. Also make sure the listing is correct, the information is correct. Sometimes I think we had an experience ourselves of incorrect addresses, and this can lead also to a bad experience. So I guess probably the starting point is just to make sure that once you've identified which those channels are that are clearly important for your business, and they'll depend on the area of the tourism business you work in, to make sure that you manage those properly, that all of your information is correct and you actually respond where you're able to. And then from there, I guess all the tools that we spoke about today, that's a higher level of sophistication where you really start to manage and work with the tools which are right for you, for your business. So I think today we've gone through a lot of different things. There's a lot which we've only had the chance to just touch the surface of, but you've also seen different perspectives which hopefully have helped you to understand what reputation means for your business. So hopefully that was very useful for you, and we will obviously be looking forward to getting more comments and receiving tweets and answering your questions over the next coming weeks. If you do have any questions which you didn't have time to get in, just send them to us. Use the hashtag #MyTourismBiz. But for now, that leaves us to say thank you. Also thank you to all of those of you who did tweet and did comment on this, and obviously all of our guests who took their time out to share with us how they're working with their business. Well, that leaves us to say goodbye, and also to tell you to join us for the next program, which will be on the 25th of February, and it's all about content, the importance of content. We've spoken quite a lot already about content, so we're really going to get into the detail of how to work with content in your digital and your marketing strategy. So we look forward to seeing you then at the same time, 4 o'clock CET. Thanks a lot for joining.